Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes.
Where we have tea and then some crime.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Alana brings the tea, and I will bring the true crime. Alana, how you doing? You're back from your beautiful trip with the wolves.
Bonjour, ça va?
Oh, boy, did you get to goodbye yet?
Oh boy. So when I visit other countries, I really do try to speak the language because I think it's a cool opportunity to try. And I do it in Mexico all the
Is it?
time.
Oh
But,
boy.
but
Oh boy.
every time I tried to speak French, Spanish would come out of my mouth because I know it so much better. And so I feel like my brain only has two pathways. It's like English or foreign language equals Spanish.
What
And like
did
I just
you say?
couldn't. I would say basically hello, thank you, please, all in Spanish when I'd be talking, or like I'd combine French and Spanish, which is real fun.
So you'd say hola to everybody in Canada?
That's what would want to come out of my mouth. I actually I did do the bonjour. I got that down. So that was a fun discovery of my brain.
The second you opened your mouth, did they just start speaking English?
Yeah. So it depended where we were. Like if we were more in like little towns, they would have a little harder time of it. But Chris is fluent in French, but he like didn't want to speak it. He got us through some conversations, and I think they appreciated it.
Boy, but how, aside from the language
Aside from
barrier,
that, it was amazing. I can't recommend Park Omega enough. That's where we stayed in the cabin with the wolves. And it's just a great place. I was not expecting how many croissants I would eat. I sought one out every day. The cooking around there is amazing. I didn't realize that, but
you
it's a French
love
influence.
bread.
I love bread. So yeah, it was fantastic. And it was a much needed vacation. And we hadn't gone on one, like a proper one, for 2 years. I was thinking back. The last one we went was when we went to the Northeast. The look at the 3 states.
Sounds thrilling. All right. Well, what do you got a tea review for us today, or
I do.
you have a litter of kittens you need to tell us about?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do. God, do you seriously?
So,
do you have more cats in your house?
Not in the house. So
what does that even mean?
So, we got a possum. It was trapped at the gym, so we let it out in the backyard.
Obviously,
yeah, as one does. Chris was letting it out, and he opened up the coop. It's getting a little colder here. He opened up the chicken coop because it'll be warmer in there. And a cat darted out, and then he's like, "It looks weird in here." Oh, there's a litter of kittens.
I was just kidding when I said that. The fact that I guessed it immediately should really tell you something about yourself.
Yeah. So, luckily the mom came
back.
So
a feral?
Yes.
A feral cat gave birth
in the chicken coop.
How many kittens?
We're not sure. It's hard to tell. We didn't want to touch them or anything like that.
I'm going to guess 5.
At least 5.
Yep. There we go. 5 kittens in your empty chicken coop that a possum already lives under.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to frame that for everybody. So what are you going to do? You're going to let her feed, and then you're going to try to adopt the kittens?
We were panicking yesterday because we're like, what if she doesn't come back? But she did.
Yeah, because then you got to get out the bottles, and then you're up every 2 hours. That'll be fun. That's like when you had the squirrels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Squirrel
babies. This is ridiculous.
So we're going to let her take care of it, and then we got to figure out, do we do a TNR, just trap, neuter, release, or in her case, fix?
That is an awful acronym. Sorry.
But yeah, it's a good thing to do in your neighborhood if you have a feral colony, TNR.
Yeah. But you're going to try to adopt the cats.
I don't know.
What else are you going to do with them? You're going to leave them feral?
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, if you take the kittens early enough, they should be able to be adopted.
Oh, God. It's just how does this keep fucking happening to us?
I swear, there is some sort of animal network where all of the cats and dogs are like, hey, you know where you can go? Either go to this gym or this house. You'll be set up. Don't worry about it. This is a Disney movie, and they all just talk to each other about it. It doesn't matter if they're birds, if they're cockatoos, if
remember
they're
the iguana
squirrels,
that appeared on
iguanas,
the
reptile. Doesn't matter. You can go there because Chris and Alana will take you in. Don't worry about it. If you hang from a bridge, they'll even keep you. So, bring your A game. Honestly, though, if one of those cats is orange, I mean, maybe let me know.
Okay. The mom is calico. So there's going to be a whole, it's a whole menagerie in there.
That's my least favorite.
Really?
Pattern. Yeah.
What is my least favorite? I don't know.
Even though I'm sure there's very beautiful, nice calico cats out there. I apologize.
But when Chris got a brief glimpse, it looked like just a hodgepodge of colors. So we'll see what's happening. But they're like little, like
they're rats.
4 inches. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fun. Well, this will be fun for you guys to see if the mom comes home every night for the next 6 weeks to make sure that those
it's really fun stress in the background.
You should put a Ring doorbell. You don't need it on the front because no people come to your house. You should just put it on the chicken coop and monitor her.
The problem is we don't have, our Wi-Fi doesn't extend to that. We thought about that yesterday. Like, can we move one of our cameras back there? Maybe we'll get a hunting camera that can just stay in the coop.
For the opposite purpose.
Yes.
We're actually, do you have a collecting camera? Because that's what we do here. And if you have any stray animals, maybe in the dumpster out back, I'd love to take them home and just make sure they're fostered correctly. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So that was, I almost forgot. So thank you for reminding me.
I was absolutely 1000% kidding and did not know. But I mean, I guess, you play the odds enough, you're bound to get it right. But anyway, sorry for the blabber. Take us into a tea review.
All right. So today's tea is actually from a tea house in a suburb of Montreal. And it is bonjour. Un té? Sí, un té. That's Spanish. Let's
not even go down there.
Yeah. So this is, it's a Pu Erh blend. We know our Pu Erh.
No. God,
it seems light though. Okay. But the description is in French. So
please read it in French.
Well, first I'll read the package. It's a black Pu Erh mini.
That word can't be right.
Bingcha. Pu Erh. I'm telling you, I looked it up. Oh, from spring 2016. Good year.
That was a good year for Pu Erh. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's see. Thé rouge du accents terroux et à la finale poirée.
No, okay, you can. I didn't get any of those words.
Okay, I don't know it. All I got is rouge, red.
Oh, it's
red
not
tea.
in English at all.
No, this was a very French Canadian Quebecois place.
Oh,
but it was lovely. Highly recommend. It's the Chat Noir in Verdun, Montreal. It's really nice. We had a nice scone there too. Okay, what am I doing drinking tea?
A nice what there?
Scone.
She means scone. For those of you who are confused.
It doesn't smell very strong. It's a tea cake, and I was instructed to wash it under cold water first to awaken it, and then
a tea cake?
Put it
like Leonardo Cianciulli? Ooh, or Leonardo?
No, not like that. But yeah, it's not super strong smelling. I only steeped it for probably like 3 to 4 minutes. Oh, there's that it's like a little bit of the funky Pu Erh, but it's like it's as like Jimi Hendrix is playing a few football fields away, and you could just hear it.
You just hear the resonant notes of the Star Spangled Banner.
Funk. No, his more funky stuff.
Well, you had him at a stadium.
Mm.
I thought he was maybe at a football game. I can't keep up with you.
Yeah, so it's very mild, which is sometimes nice for a Pu Erh because it can be very strong.
Stop saying the word.
I don't make this shit up, man.
No, you Pu Erh it is what you do.
I'd like it to be stronger. I'm going to maybe flirt with steeping it longer. I also didn't use the whole cake because she said whole cake, big teapot. There was also a little French English, trying to navigate that.
Whole cake, big teapot. I like that.
But I would give it a lightly funky thumbs up.
Funky in a good way?
Yes. Like a Jimi Hendrix way. Yeah. Or Prince.
Oh boy, now we're just grasping it.
Purple rain.
Oh my God, stop it. Okay, let's transition. Although I want to stay here for longer because this is starting to really unfold. But we have actually a really serious case. So today we're going to start part 1 of at least a 3-part series. But you know about this because we're straying from our typical format just a little bit. So typically, Alana, you know nothing, right, about the cases I bring. I don't tell you anything. I don't tell you
know
time period. I
nothing.
don't tell you anything about it. But this one, because of the nature of it and because it was going to be so long, I did run it by you, just the idea without any of the
Yes.
details to make sure you were okay with it. And because it's an issue that you want to bring more attention to, you gave me the go ahead. But I will
Yep.
continue to earmuff you.
Thank you.
In Canada, there is a stretch of highway between the cities of Prince Rupert and Prince George that covers 725 kilometers, about 450 miles. You already have a question?
What province?
British Columbia.
Okay.
Thank God I knew that answer. I got nervous. For over 50 years, this dark, isolated road has swallowed up women and girls in the night, being tracked as early as 1969 to present. Because of the despair and devastation that has happened along the corridor, this is now known as the Highway of Tears.
Mm.
Now, the number of women that have gone missing on the highway is widely debated. The RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, have 18 official victims listed, but many believe the number is twice that easily, and some believe
Wow.
it could be in the hundreds.
I mean, from what I know about this issue, I'm not too surprised about that.
These missing and murdered girls and women are victims of geographically isolated areas that give predators a disturbing, disgusting opportunity to both abduct and conceal a body in the miles of forest or the expansive coastline, which is within reach. There's no public transportation that regularly frequents the towns along these roads. The train that runs only does so a few times a week, and it's expensive. The Greyhound bus is just as infrequent or non-existent depending on the timeline we're covering. So because of this, many people have relied on hitchhiking to get around. But when I say that, I want to be absolutely clear that a necessity does not equate to the fault of the victim. Okay? Because regarding this issue, it's also thought that really only 3 out of 10 of the women were actually hitchhiking. That's the ratio at the time of their disappearance, even if they had hitchhiked in the past, right?
Yeah.
So over the next few episodes, we're going to cover the 18 girls and women who became victims on the Highway of Tears, as well as others who are not technically added to the investigation.
Okay.
I will most closely be following a list compiled by Don Sabot, published on the Canadian Encyclopedia. But before we start, I do want to call out the site Hue and Cry. I have an extensive list of sources for these episodes, but this site has organized information on the Highway of Tears very well.
Wow, cool.
It's a true crime blog focused primarily on unsolved cases of missing or murdered females, with the focus 100% on the victim, trying to bring awareness to their cases.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really great. And Hue and Cry actually means a call to action, a call for justice.
Okay.
And it has more than just the Highway of Tears. It has a huge range of stories that it covers. So check it out. It's in my sources. All right. So with that, we will get started. Gloria Moody, October 1969. Now, the first woman known to go missing on the Highway of Tears is Gloria Lavina Moody. She went by Lavina. Part of the Newhawk Nation, the 27-year-old went missing in the fall of 1969. Lavina had gone on a weekend family trip with her parents and her brother Al. She was one of 8 siblings.
Wow.
Big family. Yeah. Now, Lavina was the mother of 2 children, aged 4 and 3 at the time of her disappearance, and she worked at various fish hatcheries to support the family. Since the weekend getaway was to Williams Lake to buy Christmas presents, she did not bring the children. They stayed home with family members.
Okay.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's too early for Christmas. I saw your face. But think about it. They have to compete with the snow.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? So they probably have, like, where they are from, it was common for people to go to the lake is a bigger area to get what they needed because their town didn't offer it.
And also, you're on top of stuff. I was just thinking the other day, like, we need to get, you could buy Christmas presents all year round and make it easy for yourself.
I know. A lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's done with Christmas shopping by Halloween.
Wow.
Done.
That's impressive.
Right. Lavina's got her stuff together.
together.
So that Saturday night, October 25th, wearing a yellow dress with green and blue flowers and a dark blue coat, Lavina and her brother grabbed a drink. First at the Lakeview, then the Maple Leaf. It's amazing. Followed by the Ranch Hotel, where the two decided to head back to their room. So they're on their way out. Al was talking to Lavina. You know, she's behind him and he's talking to her. He turns around because she didn't answer and she's just gone. Lavina never returned to her room.
But
Al
they
and
were
her,
just out.
I know.
What?
Gone. Al and her parents did not wait. They called the RCMP right away.
Good for you.
But the next morning,
No.
the family's worst fears came to life
No.
when Lavina was found less than 10 miles from the lake, lying naked on a trail. Earmuff. She had been sexually assaulted and beaten. She was thought to have bled to death as a result of an injury sustained by a tree branch.
Beck. I want to stomp on the murderer right on his genitals.
On October 28th, 1969, the Vancouver Sun posted a single sentence stating that Lavina, although she's referred to as Gloria here, was found by hunters beaten to death.
No.
There were leads throughout the years, but no arrest was ever made, and the case is still considered unsolved.
The fuck is wrong with people?
I know. This is just the first one. You're going to... yeah.
Boy.
Lavina's children were raised by their grandparents. Lavina's eldest daughter, Vanessa, not learning her parents were actually her grandparents until she was almost a teenager.
Oh my God.
In an attempt to protect the children, the memories of Lavina were contained to whispers, even though Vanessa grew up to look just like the beautiful woman the family was missing.
Wow.
Which must have been so hard.
Yeah, I can't
For
imagine.
everybody, right?
It's just a hole.
Yeah, for Vanessa, for her grandparents,
around. Yeah.
and to see their daughter in their granddaughter's face. An article in The Walrus, written by Angela Starrett, spoke to a former Mountie who took on Lavina's case in the 80s. The man's name is Mel McIntosh, and he was horrified to find the state of Lavina's file in absolute disarray. There was no organization, no dates on the statements. Only half of the content was legible. McIntosh had also heard through coworkers that bullets had been found near Lavina, even though she had not been shot. Still, the bullets were unusual and could be traced to a suspect, and no notes were kept on this finding.
What?
That was just hearsay.
Come on, man.
In the 90s, there was talk of Lavina's case being solved when a woman came forward stating she believed her deceased husband was responsible. Now, according to this woman, her husband had been a violent, abusive, sexually sadistic partner, and she had been terrified of him. The man had been questioned during the initial investigation due to his proximity to the crime, and his previous record came out for armed robbery and statutory rape.
Ew, wow.
At the age of 36, this man left his wife a lengthy suicide note in red ink. Although the letter didn't outright confess, investigators seemed to think that other witness statements and a deathbed confession from an unnamed person proved that this woman's husband, along with two other men who were both dead by this time, had committed the crime.
God, I hope they suffered so much in their life.
Starrett's article in The Walrus recounts McIntosh's recollection of the case, claiming there was a letter that hinted to a confession and that the husband had been a bartender in Williams Lake, the area that Lavina was in. It was town gossip that while working at the pub, this man was known to sexually assault women from the bar, but nobody wanted to come forward.
Come on. We got to all come forward together. I know
Agreed.
It's hard.
These are just rumors. Rumors don't cut it. Without being able to know for sure, Lavina's family has not found the closure they crave for Lavina, and generations have suffered the heartbreak of her loss.
Yeah.
In an attempt to ease the pain and honor Lavina, 2 ceremonies were held, one in 1994 and another in 1999. But what the family really wants is somebody to be held responsible.
But they're probably dead, right?
If it was him, but we don't know for sure. Lavina is remembered as a kind, compassionate woman who loved her family and adored her children. Her murder remains unsolved.
I hate people.
Yeah. Micheline Paré, July 1970. Less than a year later, in the summer of 1970, 18-year-old Micheline Paré was hitchhiking through Hudson's Hope in British Columbia. Micheline lived in Montreal with her parents and 3 siblings and had been attending college in the city. But when her family went on vacation, Micheline decided to head west to explore British Columbia without telling anybody.
And hitchhiking was more common and safe back then.
For sure, especially through the 70s.
Yeah.
Right? Her father told the Gazette he knew Micheline wanted to travel, but he had no idea she was going to go. When he returned home from vacation, he had a bill from Edmonton General Hospital for $3. That's when he realized
$3
where Micheline had gone, right? It's the 70s. When her body was discovered August 8th of 1970 by berry pickers along the highway, decomp was too advanced to identify the remains visually.
Oh.
However, Her student ID was still on her person. Earmuff. Cause of death was due to head wounds, but police suspected that she may have been shot and also sexually assaulted. Time of death was estimated to be 3 to 4 weeks prior. Say I'm back.
I'm back, sorry.
Around that time, police confirmed that Micheline had been hitchhiking on July 8th and was last seen on Highway 20, which connects to Highway 16. 2 women had given her a ride to Tompkins Ranch. That was the last time anyone admitted to seeing Micheline. Like Gloria, her murder remains unsolved.
It's killing me. Why is it just a random person's ranch?
Yeah, but that was just the last place they dropped her. I'm sure she went somewhere after that there's no way to know.
Yeah.
Because whoever picked her up isn't going to come forward and they're most likely the murderer.
Right.
The next 2 women who went missing are not technically included in the Highway of Tears investigation. There's a special task force that was created in 2005 called E-PANA. This unit was created to determine if a serial killer or killers were responsible for the abductions and murders along the stretch of land.
Oh.
However, the task force has specific requirements for cases to qualify as part of their investigation. 1, the victims must be female. 2, they must have been last seen or discovered within a mile of Highway 16, 97, or 5. They must have been engaging in, quote, high-risk behavior. Hitchhiking is given as the example.
Okay.
And 4th, foul play must be suspected.
Okay.
So these 2 women are left out of the E-PANA investigation either because they were not engaging in high-risk behavior at the time or more likely because police did not believe foul play was the cause. Okay, I'll let you decide. Helen Claire Frost, October 1970. Helen Claire Frost was 17 at the time of her disappearance, 4 days shy of her 18th birthday. She was born in England, but moved with her family to British Columbia in 1956. Helen was close to her older sister, Sandy, and the 2 girls were only a year apart. The sisters spent their summers outdoors as young as 14 and 15 working as berry pickers and camping outside, hitching rides with truckers between jobs.
You know, they're good foragers.
Yeah, it sounded like the girls loved their freedom and being outside and just being together. When Helen was only 16, she decided to strike out on her own and move to Prince George. Sandy soon followed. Sandy worked as a dishwasher at a local restaurant, and Helen worked bussing tables. It was during this time that Helen shared a secret with her sister. Helen was pregnant. In May of 1970, Helen gave birth to a baby girl at a home for unwed mothers.
How old
And then
is
she opted to give the child up for adoption.
Oh, okay.
Upon leaving the home, Helen moved back in with her sister and another young woman. So she has 2 roommates. Some articles say Helen gave the child up at her boyfriend's prompting. And then as soon as she returned, he broke it off with her anyway. Others say she did it because she thought it was best for the child. Either way, Helen and the father did break up when she returned to Prince George, but Helen changed her mind about the adoption.
Oh.
And Sandy took her to social services because she wanted to get her daughter back.
Yeah.
Helen came out of the office that day in tears and never brought up the topic again.
Oh, no.
That summer, Helen was employed as a painter and traveled around painting gas stations before returning to Prince George in October. She's still sharing an apartment with Sandy and the other woman whose name is Darlene, but since she's been gone, Darlene has had her own infant child, which must have been absolutely heartbreaking situation for Helen to be in. The night of October 13th around 8 p.m., Helen asked Sandy to take a walk with her. The weather was chilly and Sandy opted to stay inside. She says, a little cold for me. I'm going to skip it. So Helen left. She said, I'm going to go grab some fresh air. Be right back. That was the last time Sandy saw her sister. Their apartment was only blocks away from what would become the Highway of Tears.
Oh.
Helen's disappearance was reported 2 days later because Sandy, keep in mind, Sandy's only 16 too.
Yeah.
She thought Helen had decided to go visit friends. And a report was filed, but Sandy's not sure what else was done in the investigation. I wasn't able to find any newspaper articles regarding Helen's case until the late 90s. That doesn't mean I have access to every single newspaper, but it seemed that a lot of the cases in the 70s were just, media coverage was not a thing in the same way that it is today. And also, I think the cases were handled differently.
Yeah.
Due to the recent events Helen had experienced at the time that she went missing, investigators thought suicide or runaway. There's no doubt that Helen was going through a rough time, but
Yeah.
Sandy thought her sister seemed to be improving. As for running away, Helen stepped out for a short walk. She didn't have extra clothes.
She asked her sister to come with her.
Yeah, she didn't have a wallet. She didn't have anything that would make anyone think she was leaving town.
I feel like the fact that she asked her sister to come with her rules out both of those.
I know, I agree. However, in 2017, a woman named Michelle Johnston entered an official request for her birth certificate, only to find that Helen Frost was her birth mother. Michelle was devastated to learn about her birth mother's tragic case, but she was able to meet her Aunt Sandy.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. Both women want Helen's case added to the E-PANA task force to bring it more visibility and more resources.
You hear that, E-PANA peeps?
That's right. And Sandy shared that after finding Michelle, Sandy is positive Helen didn't run away because nothing would have stopped her from wanting to meet her daughter.
Yeah. It doesn't add up. It just feels lazy almost. Like they have no leads, so they're like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, there is this real, the runaway.
Yep.
That's the first go-to, but then you lose so much in those first 48 hours.
So we know that.
We know that now. Yeah. 48 hours, it's your highest probability of solving a case like this. Today, Helen's disappearance remains unsolved. Jean Virginia Sampar, October 1971. Ginny, as she was called, was number 5 of 6 children and a descendant of the Gitxsan First Nations. She went to high school in Hazleton and at 18 worked at the Royal Packing Company. Newly an adult, Ginny had plans to break out on her own, moving out of her parents' house and then relocating to Terrace with her cousin Alvin. But on October 14th, 1971, Ginny and Alvin were walking along a bridge on Highway 16.
Oh, no.
It was late at night and Ginny had left the house upset. Her parents were notoriously strict and implemented strict curfews, but the family decided she just needed time to cool down and she'd be back. Besides, she's with her cousin.
Right.
Before they walked to the store, Alvin decided to take care of his bike. He told Ginny he'd be right back.
No.
When he returned, Ginny was gone.
Alvin.
Having most likely missed her by a matter of moments, it was shocking that there was absolutely no sign of her anywhere.
What?
The RCMP and family searched the area around Highway 16 right away, but there was nothing. Not a trace of Ginny remained that could lead investigators to find her.
How does this happen?
Her siblings insist that Ginny was not the kind of person to take off. She wouldn't even leave the house without telling someone in her family where she was going.
Again, she was with her cousin.
I know. The family started searching right away. They were worried at first that she might be injured, hit by a car, thrown off the road, and just out of sight somewhere, unable to crawl to the road. They're looking everywhere. The civil defense orchestrated a search, but all I could locate in the papers was a single sentence stating a search was in progress on the 23rd. By the 27th, a helicopter joined in, and by the 29th, the official search came to an end. But her family didn't stop looking. Ginny's brother, Roddy, told the Vancouver Sun he'd been pleased with the initial effort put into the search, but he's obviously not satisfied with the outcome, and he's desperate for answers.
Yeah.
The family was left with no concrete leads. The cousin, Alvin, right, he heard the door of a truck close as he was approaching.
Oh.
Leading him to believe Ginny was forced or willingly accepted a ride from somebody.
Interesting.
Secondly, Ginny's boyfriend, who also worked at the packing company with her, had gone missing himself right before Ginny disappeared.
What?
His body was found a few days later, drowned.
What?
Yeah. Ginny didn't know her boyfriend was dead at the time of her disappearance. This is probably why she was upset. But that coincidence laid the groundwork for a lot of speculation, and none of it really helped with Ginny's case. Much like with Helen, because she was upset when she went missing, investigators were more likely to believe she had taken her own life or run away.
No.
I know. She wouldn't be able to do it in that span of time.
Ugh.
The RCMP has created a DNA profile for Ginny to keep on file should there be a break in the case. But for now, the family is haunted by the what ifs, and the case remains unsolved.
God, what year is this?
71.
It's so frustrating.
Gail Ways, October 1973. 19-year-old Gail Ways lived by herself in Clearwater, British Columbia. Gail was one of 9 children and had just big dreams of traveling North America before starting her own family. She was athletic and she was adventurous. She was a Girl Guide leader and a lifeguard. Girl Guide is
Oh.
like girls, I guess Girl Scouts equivalent for
Fun.
us. Living on her own for the first time, she's saving money for college. She worked 2 jobs.
Get it.
In the fall of 1973, according to witnesses, Gail ended her shift at the gas station where she worked and then popped into her other place of employment, which was a nearby pub. She was looking for a ride. Gail was hoping somebody could bring her to Kamloops, most likely because that's where her parents lived. It was assumed she wanted to go visit them. When no one offered, Gail decided to hitch a ride. That was the night of October 19th. Gail never made it to her parents' house. For months, the search continued, but the media coverage was non-existent from what I could tell. As late as December, police were hopeful Gail might be found alive. I found this one short article because her father and a sibling had experienced, quote, amnesia-like episodes before. Maybe they thought the same thing had happened to Gail, but they didn't go into any more detail. However, Gail's body was found April 4th, 1974, off the road in a ditch filled with ice. Besides location, there seemed to be no connection between Gail's case and the previous missing women I've mentioned, but investigators instantly saw a connection between Gail and another murdered 19-year-old.
Really?
Yes. Pamela Darlington, November 1973.
That's a very sweet name.
It is. On November 6, 1973, Pamela was last seen at a bar in Kamloops before midnight. That's the same town Gail was catching a ride to. The very next day, Pamela's body was found in the South Thompson River in Riverside Park. Earmuff. Investigators did not reveal Pamela's cause of death, but confirmed she had been sexually assaulted.
Beck.
Connections were made between Pamela and Gail as soon as Gail's body was discovered. Although the reason at first for the connection is vague, investigators do mention how similar the 2 women are in appearance. They are both white women with auburn brown hair and similar facial features, and they really do look alike. When I was doing my research, sometimes they just had pictures of the women. Sometimes they had their name, and I kept confusing the 2 of them. If their name wasn't listed, they look very similar. But an article in 2012 from CBC News also reported that the way both women were attacked and murdered was strikingly similar. The detectives noticed it right away, but also it was studied by behavioral scientists, and it led them to believe that it was the same person. Mm-hmm. Pamela and Gail were both added to the Highway of Tears E-PANA investigation, but their cases would be forever linked with each other and a 16-year-old Colleen McMillan.
No, it's too little.
Colleen McMillan, August 1974. Just a few months after Gail's body was found, Colleen left home to meet friends, hitching a ride on Highway 97. As she left, she yelled out to her younger brother, "Don't tell Mom." September of that same year, Colleen's body was found 30 miles from home. Her clothes had been discovered just a few miles outside of 100 Mile House in a pile close to the highway. Once the clothes were found and identified as Colleen's, police then started searching the area with dogs and a helicopter.
Good.
Less than 20 miles from an old logging road, Colleen was found, and her body was positively identified from dental records. For a very long time, Colleen's murder remained unsolved, just like the other cases. Her brother, Kevin, told 48 Hours, quote, "It's a lifelong disaster. It was sad the day it happened, and we're sad today, and we'll be sad till the day we die."
Yeah. I mean,
can't
it's
imagine.
Tragic. It
just
cuts you every time you think about it. It's just like living on top of you.
You're never going to be okay.
It's another layer that's just there forever.
The difference in Colleen's case is that investigators had found her clothes and they were not destroyed. They weren't even dirty. They were just kind of in a pile in a bush off the side of the road. So they sent the clothes away for tests and found samples on Colleen's blouse that they chose to preserve without knowing if they would be useful someday.
Oh, this is before all the tech?
Yeah, I mean, this is the 70s.
I didn't know when it was invented. That's awesome.
In 2007, this action paid off. Investigators were able to extract DNA from that sample and enter it into the database.
Wow.
Sadly, there were no matches.
Fuck.
But they tried again. Miraculously, with the advancement of technology, scientists derived a better sample to submit, and this time they sent it to Interpol, which is an international database.
Oh, yeah.
In May of 2012, the RCMP was notified of a hit. The DNA profile from Colleen's clothes the day she went missing matched a convict in the U.S., Bobby Jack Fowler.
Punch him in the nuts over and over.
Yeah. Fowler had lived in Oregon, but moved around a lot, working as a roofer through Western Canada in the 70s.
I hope you accidentally staple gunned yourself repeatedly.
He also had a violent criminal record. He'd been charged with murder in 1969 in Texas. Murder charges ended up being reduced to discharging a firearm. Nope.
One
That's
causes the other, sweetie.
Yeah. You discharge it and then somebody died. That's how that works.
He must know somebody in this court
If
system.
he had been kept in jail, Colleen and potentially the other women would be safe.
Fuckers.
So this leaves Fowler free to roam British Columbia in the 70s. It wasn't until 1995 when one of his victims escaped that he was caught. Fowler kidnapped a woman in Oregon, brought her to a hotel, attempted to rape her.
No.
She broke free and jumped out a window.
Oh, good girl.
Somebody passing by happened to break her fall so she didn't hit pavement.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she survived. He was charged with kidnapping, attempted rape, and assault. He died in prison from cancer while serving that sentence. Investigators are confident that he is responsible for the death of Colleen McMillan. He's a very probable suspect for the deaths of Gail Ways and Pamela Darlington.
Yeah.
But no DNA was obtained for those cases, so they can't say for sure.
Right.
Police believe Fowler could be responsible for up to 20 murders within the U.S. and Canada. Although a trial is impossible.
That's insane.
Right? I know. It's insane.
And imagine that one first trial that could have freaking just put him in jail and kept him away.
You're going to be unsatisfied repeatedly.
Love the court system.
The RCMP now lists Colleen McMillan's case as solved.
Okay.
But like I said, Gail Ways and Pamela Darlington remain unsolved despite the theory that the cases are all connected.
I wonder how the family feels about that, like if that was helpful for them or not.
I know. I wonder that too, because you can't be sure. So I imagine a lot of the investigative effort is probably eased up on because they're pretty sure.
Yeah.
But you don't get that definite knowing like you do with Colleen's case. But then maybe they feel confident enough too that they feel as though
they conceal that for themselves.
Or maybe
I hope so.
Nothing helps. I don't know. So they have one monster captured.
Yeah.
But Gloria Lavina Moody, Micheline Paré, Helen Frost, Jean Virginia Sampar, all unsolved. No new leads. Before the decade comes to an end, 2 more girls will go missing and be found murdered. Monica Ignis and Monica Jack. These are the youngest victims on the Highway of Tears.
No.
I know, I'm sorry.
They're just babies.
Monica Ignis, December 1974. Shortly after Colleen's body was found, 14-year-old Monica went missing.
They're little.
She was added to the Highway of Tears list in 2006, which is a year after the E-PANA task force was started.
Okay.
So for a short time, this made her the first victim on the list because Gloria and the others were added later. An article in the Vancouver Sun quotes a resident of Monica's town as saying, "Maybe she was the first to disappear. She wasn't much older than my kid, and I had picked her up once and driven her to school, so she is forever in my memory. She was a nice girl and doesn't deserve to be forgotten."
Good for you.
Monica was one of 12 children who lived with her mother, and her father, Steve, had passed away prior to her disappearance. And the family had moved to Thornhill off of Highway 16, which is about 5 miles outside of Terrace. It's almost a town, but not really. It's like this tiny little section of Terrace. Thornhill, it'll come up more than once throughout these.
It's like a neighborhood dish.
Kind of. On December 13th at approximately 11 p.m., Monica was seen in Terrace waiting to catch a ride home. She was wearing a blue coat, brown shoes. That was the last time anyone saw Monica alive. She never returned to Thornhill. Just like with Helen, it would come out later that Monica was presumed a runaway. Instead of being treated like an abduction, which I'm presuming had a negative effect on the case.
Yes.
Earmuff. It wasn't until spring that Monica's hand was found by a logging road. It had been severed by animals.
Back.
After this discovery, a police dog was brought out and Monica's remains were found nearby. She had been strangled to death. Her case remains unsolved.
Come on.
Monica Jack, May 6, 1978. 3 years later, this one's going to infuriate you. Monica Jack would disappear riding her bike home. The 12-year-old had spent the day shopping with her cousin Debbie. It was a big trip. Monica was just a few days shy of 13. And this was the first time her mother had let Monica ride her bike alone to her cousins. Monica had earned that trust from her mother. She was consistently kind, considerate, good grades in school, followed through on her commitments, was part of the softball team. She sounded like an amazing, amazing kid. That day, Monica planned to buy a new pair of shoes with money her dad had given her and a gift for her sister Liz. Monica had spent the morning already baking a birthday cake for her sister because the family was going to celebrate the next day. Everything had gone as planned. The children had a great time. She got everything she needed. When it was time for Monica to go home, she started riding her bike back along Highway 5. Her mother, Madeline, passed Monica on her way and stopped to offer her a ride. Madeline, along with other adults in the family, were heading out on an annual fishing trip. So the older kids were left at home and left in charge. Monica had a bunch of older siblings. It was something the family had done for generations. But Monica turned down the offer of a ride, wanting to enjoy that last bit of freedom on a beautiful spring day, and she was about a mile away from home.
Oh, man, I bet her mother never forgot that.
She was headed towards their home on Nicola Lake. Monica and her family were members of the Lower Nicola Indian Band. When Monica didn't come home, Madeline reported her missing. Within 24 hours, Monica's bike was found about a mile from her home, thrown down an embankment. That is all that is found of Monica for 17 years.
What?
Madeline told the Vancouver Sun that she felt people thought the grief should end after a time. Overhearing people say things, and this is a quote, "Her daughter probably just ran away. People don't steal Indian kids." End quote.
What? Have you ever read a history book?
I know.
You
off.
Fucking eggnog heads. Come on.
Eggnog heads. I don't know if I've ever heard
I don't
that.
know. It just came to me as
you know what? I'm going to roll with it. Yeah, I don't know if I feel that way, but I do feel your anger. Anyone who has any ounce of empathy or has lost a child or even heard about a lost child, you know what I mean, might feel differently. But I don't think it's a pain that most people can't imagine.
Yeah.
Right? You just can't. You can't imagine it.
Yeah.
In the summer of 1995, foresters found skeletal remains in a ravine close to the highway. When the bones were confirmed to be human, police pulled up missing person files in an attempt to find a match. It wasn't until February of 96, through DNA testing, that the remains were confirmed to be that of Monica Jack. Elizabeth Krause, Monica's little sister Liz, the one she was buying the present for, recounts to the Merritt Herald how each development in the case brought back the terrible pain of that day.
Oh,
she vividly remembers as a young adult now.
Yeah, that's a core memory for
she
sure.
She went to collect her sister's clothes when her body was discovered and was shocked at how small they were. For the first time realizing that they belonged to a 12-year-old girl and not her big sister.
Right. That's
just heartbreaking.
Huge distinction.
Right? Like she's always big in your mind. She's your big sister. And then you realize you're older than her now.
Yeah.
And she's forever frozen.
Yeah.
At the time the discovery was made, the police reported they had a suspect, but there was not enough evidence to bring charges against him. However, the Vancouver newspaper The Province reports that the day Monica disappeared, a light green camper had been seen in the vicinity. A man was also seen cleaning up at a rest area, and witnesses reported hearing screams. This time that this article comes out in 1996, police are urging the public to come forward with any information about these sightings. Within a few days of bringing Monica home, her family buried her in the graveyard on the reserve, where her great-grandparents were also laid to rest, which is just a blinding reminder that Monica was gone way before her time, right? Her great-grandparents.
Yeah.
Ugh. They're doing this while knowing the police think they know who it is, but can't get justice for her. Madeline, Monica's mother, traveled with family to the site where her daughter's remains had been found. Over 150 loved ones gathered to release Monica's spirit from this final spot through ceremony.
Wow.
Again, a pain I don't think many can truly understand. Madeline is unbelievable. She's so strong. For years, the case goes cold. Then, in 2000, the Abbotsford News published a story mentioning Monica Jack's case. This time, it revealed some more details about that unnamed suspect. This man was a suspect in the murder of 2 other young girls outside of the Highway of Tears investigation. Catherine Mary Herbert and Teresa Hildebrand. Catherine Mary was just 11 years old and, like Monica, walking home from her friend's house in the fall of 75. Earmuff. 2 months later, Catherine Mary's body was found beaten to death.
Back.
Catherine Mary's mother, Sherry, after all these years, has refused to give up on the case. The suspect, who the paper's not allowed to name, had rape convictions before Catherine Mary's murder. Had he faced stricter punishments, he would not have been able to harm her daughter.
Don't you have to be on a list after that shit?
I don't think that came in later.
Oh.
Sherry knows who the man is and had met him before. In 1975,
torture him to death.
At the time of Catherine Mary's disappearance, Sherry had a teenage girl staying with her who was dating this man.
What? A teenage girl?
Well, I think he was a teenager at the time too, or relative in age, because you'll see. Although he was a suspect from the start, there wasn't enough evidence in this case to charge him either. Then, 15-year-old Teresa Hildebrand went missing in 76 and was found murdered 4 years later. Monica goes missing in 78.
Come on, y'all.
At the time, police believe all 3 cases are connected. Sadly, Sherry's pain is not contained to the death of her daughter. The strength these mothers have, I can't even comprehend. A year prior, Sherry lost her 9-year-old son in an accident.
Oh, no.
Then in 1983, her older son, William, died by suicide, broken up over the death of Catherine Mary.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much pain going on
So
in the
much
family.
pain. As far as Sherry is concerned, this man killed 2 of her children. That's what she told the paper. But despite this consuming grief, Sherry founded Parents Against Violence Against Children and was working towards creating an online database of missing children. At the end of the article, Sherry says, "It's over 25 years. I've been fighting for so long and I'm getting tired, but I'm not giving up." It would be another 14 years before Sherry or Monica's family glimpsed a possibility of justice. Monica's case was added to the E-PANA investigation in 2007. But there was not much news until December of 2014. The RCMP would arrest then 67-year-old Gary Taylor Handlin and charge him with the first-degree murders of Catherine Mary Herbert and Monica Jack. Investigators either no longer believed or were unable to press charges for Teresa's murder, and her case still is unsolved.
Come on.
The trial for Monica Jack didn't start until 2018.
Oh my God.
Elizabeth Krause, again, Monica's little sister, spearheaded fundraising efforts to raise money for the family to travel to court when Monica's trial started. To arrest Handlin, the RCMP had performed an undercover operation pretending they were a criminal ringleader interviewing Handlin for a job. During one of the taped conversations, Handlin confesses to the murder of Monica Jack by sharing details of the case. The jury was allowed to hear the confession, but not allowed to hear other details of Handlin's past. For instance, that he had been convicted of rape and assault.
Why?
I don't know. He was actually on parole when Catherine Mary was murdered. And in 1977, he was charged for attempted rape, but wasn't convicted until 78 after Monica went missing.
Great.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Oh my fucking God. These are people's lives.
Yeah. At the start of 2019, Handlin was found guilty for the murder of Monica Jack. Both Sherry and Madeline attended. But after the conviction, the case of Catherine Mary Herbert was dismissed.
Why?
I don't know. And Handlin then appealed the ruling for the Monica Jack case.
I will crush you.
In 2022, the court denied the appeal. Currently, Handlin is serving life in prison. He maintains his innocence.
Every moment is awful.
When interviewed by Global News during the ordeal, Madeline Lanaro, Monica's mother, said, "I don't think there is a closure because it's still going to be there in our hearts, our head, minds.
Yeah.
Every time, there's always that void. But you just sort of learn to go day by day and carry on. That's all we can do, really." She ended the interview through quiet tears, saying that her daughter, quote, enjoyed life, but it was taken from her. And this is where we will pause for part 1. When we return, we will have part 2, which will examine the initial Highway of Tears victims, because all of the ones we covered today were added a year or two after the official task force was created, if they were even added.
Mm-hmm.
So that list is 18 as it stands today. And from that, 13 of the victims are teenagers, or in Monica's case, younger, and 10 are Indigenous women. We will touch on the issues Indigenous women face and the history of the relationship many First Nations have with the police due to the painful history.
Yeah.
Which obviously impacts the complexity of these investigations.
Of course.
If you have any information on any of the cases we discussed today, please call the E-PANA Tip Hotline at 1-877-543-4822. Thoughts?
It's awful. I want to go dress up like Batman and go up and down the highway and protect these girls.
And this is the first decade. I mean,
it's so much.
It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. And we're going to talk about it more, but the strength that these families show when something like this happens is unbelievable. I can't even imagine. I mean, it ripples through so many people. You're not just victimizing these girls and women, you're victimizing every single person who loves them.
Yeah, of course.
When we come back, we'll dive more into some of the issues and some of the context behind all of this. And I don't know how many parts it's going to be, honestly. But what are your last words?
I think it's to people who are involved in investigation or prosecuting, or like any kind of that funnel of like what you do matters so much, right? The first 48 hours, if you just call it a runaway instead of like a abduction or something like that, as you're processing people who are very likely to be these bad people, it's just like every action of yours really matters. And I just want you to remember that. You have a huge impact on people's lives and families.
Yeah. The fact that Monica Jack's murderer should have been in prison at that time.
Right.
Of both of Catherine Mary's as well. It's just infuriating.
Yes. Completely.
I mean, and it's the same thing with Colleen McMillan's murderer.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Same thing.
They can prevent this by holding people accountable.
Yeah. And there are certain crimes that, you get drug charges. It's different.
Yeah. That's not
sexual violence.
It's heinous.
Anyway. Well, we're doing this because obviously these are not Alana's kinds of cases to get into because they're too recent and they're too sad, but she agreed because we wanted to dive into some of the issues that the Indigenous women have to face and also just women in this area.
Yeah. Violence against women.
Because it's these cases, I don't want them to be forgotten. So we're going to work our way through and try to remember at least a little bit of each person.
Memories of these girls alive.
Yeah, their daughters, their mothers,
sisters.
They are loved, and sisters, yes. All right, who should listen?
Oh, man. Police, judges, lawyers, jury members, aka everybody, Canadians, people who were living around there that time.
Yeah.
Like, help them out if you can.
I know you might remember something. I know it seems so long ago.
But sometimes there's a little flash of something can put everything together. So it's just, and also like we talked about, sometimes things are so ugly that you don't want to come forward, whether it's like shame or like, oh, it's not our business. But if more people come forward together, we can prevent these kind of things and get the people. Because like if a dude is doing a lot of bad stuff and there's a bunch of different experiences, if all those people come forward, then there's a case. And there's, I don't know. It's hard, but I just think to break that stigma is important.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, you can find us on all of the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
Please review, subscribe, share your recommendations for teas and crimes, and we will be back next week. Thank you so much for listening.